You get paid on Friday, and after your bills, you've finally got $500 left. What should you do with it? One person tells you to invest immediately. Another tells you to destroy every debt first. Someone else says you need 6 months of cash before doing anything. And that's how people end up doing 5 good things at the same time, but none of them particularly well. So, I'm going to show you the exact financial order I'd personally use as my default, from financial chaos all the way to building wealth. And I said default for a reason. Your interest rates, income, job stability, benefits, and personal situation matter. So think of this as a decision framework, not a financial law. Before I worry about investing, retirement accounts, or becoming debt-free, I need to make sure my financial life isn't actively on fire. Housing, food, utilities, transportation to work, insurance, and minimum required debt payments. If I'm behind on essential bills or missing minimum payments, my first move is getting current, not aggressively investing while late fees and bigger problems pile up behind me. And I'd stop adding new consumer debt wherever I realistically can. Because paying off one side of the credit card while charging the other side isn't progress. Once the essentials are covered, minimums are current, and I know what's coming in and going out, I need a positive monthly margin. That's step 0. I'm not wealthy. I'm not even financially secure yet, but I've stopped digging. Now here's where I disagree with the idea of immediately throwing every spare dollar at debt. If I literally have no cash cushion, I'm fragile. So, step 1 is a starter emergency fund. For someone truly beginning at 0, I might initially aim for roughly $1,000 to $2,000, adjusted for the reality of my expenses. Because if I spend every spare dollar paying debt and my car breaks tomorrow, guess where that repair probably ends up? Right back on the credit card. That's why I want a small cushion before I go into full attack mode. I'm protecting the debt payoff from the next emergency. Before aggressively attacking debt, there's one thing I'd check at work. Does my employer match retirement contributions? Some workplace retirement plans add employer money when you contribute your own money. For example, an employer might contribute 50 cents for every dollar you contribute up to a certain percentage of your pay. Your plan could be completely different. But don't blindly copy somebody else's percentage. I'd check the match formula, eligibility, and vesting rules first. If there's a valuable employer match available, I'm eligible, and contributing doesn't prevent me from covering essentials and minimum payments, I would seriously consider capturing that benefit before sending every extra dollar elsewhere. Now I move into attack mode. Step 3 is high-interest consumer debt. And this is important. I wouldn't mentally treat every debt identical. A credit card charging something like 25% creates a very different problem from a loan costing 5%. I'd list every balance, interest rate, and minimum payment. Then I'd choose either a highest interest first strategy or a smaller balance first strategy and actually stick with it. The mathematically perfect spreadsheet doesn't help if you quit in month 2. I'd rather have a strong plan I can follow than a perfect plan I abandon. At this point, look at what's happened. We've stopped the financial bleeding, created protection, and removed the debt that's fighting hardest against us. Now we can start building real stability. Step 4 is turning that starter buffer into a real emergency fund. Here I stop thinking in terms of an arbitrary $1,000 and start thinking in terms of months of essential expenses. You often hear 3 to 6 months used as a planning range, but I wouldn't treat that as a magical number. If I have very stable employment, low fixed expenses, and another reliable income in my household, I may feel comfortable toward the lower end. If I'm self-employed, supporting children, or dealing with unpredictable income, I might want more protection. The goal isn't to maximize the amount of cash sitting around forever. It's to prevent a financial surprise from destroying the plan. This is the stage where the financial comeback starts becoming wealth building. Once the foundation is strong, I'd start increasing consistent long-term investing. Depending on where I live and what I'm eligible for, I'd learn how my workplace retirement plan and other tax-advantaged accounts work before choosing to contribute. And I'd build around diversification, my time horizon, and the amount of risk I can actually tolerate. What I wouldn't do is spend months repairing my finances and then turn the investing stage into a casino. The objective is boring, repeatable wealth building, not proving that I'm smarter than the market every Tuesday morning. After that foundation is built, the order becomes less universal. Maybe I want to accelerate moderate interest debt. Maybe I increase investing. Maybe I need cash for a home, education, or another major goal. This is where my actual goals, interest rates, taxes, risk tolerance, and timeline become much more important. I wouldn't make zero debt at any cost the only definition of success, and I wouldn't make invest every possible dollar the only definition either. The goal is growing net worth while building a financial life that's durable enough to survive real life. And once that system is running, every month starts pushing me toward the first major milestone, $100,000 of net worth.
Let's make this practical. Imagine Alex is 29 and finally wants to get his finances together. He takes home $4,200 a month. He has $300 saved and $6,000 on a high-interest credit card. He could send every dollar to the credit card tomorrow, but then one unexpected repair sends him straight back onto the card. So I'd first make sure his essentials and minimums are current, then build the starter buffer. Next, I'd check whether his employer offers a retirement match and what the actual terms are. Then I'd aggressively attack that expensive credit card while protecting the starter cash cushion. After that, I'd strengthen the emergency fund and increase long-term investing. That's an order Alex can actually survive enough to follow. So here's the entire order again. Step 0. Get current on essential obligations and stop the bleeding. Step 1. Build a starter cash buffer. Step 2. Check for an employer retirement match. Step 3. Attack dangerous high-interest debt. Step 4. Build a real emergency fund. Step 5. Increase consistent long-term investing. And Step 6. Decide what to accelerate based on your goals. The point isn't that every person uses exactly the same percentages. The point is that every dollar has a priority. That's how you stop reacting to money and start building the machine. But here's where this gets harder. What happens when you already have some savings and a big pile of debt at the same time? Would you empty the savings and attack the debt, keep the cash, or do both? That's exactly what we're breaking down next. $10,000 in debt and only $2,000 saved. What should you do? If you're building your financial comeback, subscribe to Marcus Money Moves. We're going from financially behind to the first 100K, one money move at a time.